Hello humans, it's just Martine and welcome to a week in my life between semesters. It is currently the end of April, and this week will also be the beginning of May. Last week was finals week. I didn't have to take any finals, but I did have to grade a lot of final papers. And summer A starts in 2 weeks. So I still have a lot that I want to do in the time between semesters, but it's going to be like a little more chill than usual, just a smidge. It's starting off on this lovely Monday morning by me taking 2 full days off of work. I technically took almost all of this weekend off like I normally do, although I did have to do some last minute grading on Sunday, but I'm going to treat myself to celebrate the end of the semester, all the things that I've accomplished this academic year with 2 days off before I jump back into all the stuff I need to do. It's just past 11 a.m. and it's been a very chill morning. Watched YouTube for a while, then I made myself breakfast, just peanut butter toast and some kiwi on the side. I walked over to the school library where I looked around and sat and read for a while because 3 days until the end of the month, and there are still some books that I want to finish this month, even though the end of the month is an arbitrary deadline, whatever, I still want to finish these books this month. So I'm going to spend a lot of time in the next few days reading, hopefully. Then I came back and I just filmed TBR Crime episode 4 rolls. So that's exciting because my video this weekend is episode 3. So I need to figure out what I'm reading next. Because when I don't have the list of things I need to read next to me, my brain thinks I can read anything and then I will run out of time. So let's not do that. Let's instead know what we're going to read. So I rolled for that. I haven't picked any books yet for that. Like, I have my prompts, but I haven't picked books. I feel like my strategy is still being worked out for TBR Crime as far as picking my books goes. Because last round, I picked my books immediately and then was stuck in Kindle jail because I had checked them all out from the library and didn't read them all in 21 days, So maybe we're going to change that strategy this time. Regardless, I'm glad you're here and hopefully it's going to be a chill week. I'll talk to you about some books. I'll talk to you about some of the tasks that I do in between semesters as a graduate student. Should be pretty chill. Hello friends, happy Tuesday. This morning I got ready, had a good breakfast, and then walked to the grocery store. I don't have a car. I went to an Aldi. It's like 1.5 miles there, so I walked a total of 3 miles. And I have to say there are 2 primary benefits to walking to the grocery store if it's in a certain distance. The first is that it's a good workout. And the second is that it's a good budgeting technique because you can only buy what you can carry. Let's do a little grocery haul, walk you through what I got. It's nothing crazy, and I do still have some stuff here, but I mainly needed some more produce. I got 2 cans of black beans. Each of these cans is like 85 cents, which is the cheapest place I've seen them. I've looked at Publix, I've looked at the Dollar Tree, I've looked at Aldi. These ones are the cheapest. I got a sparkling classic lemonade as a little treat for walking all that way. Getting into the refrigerated stuff in my Trader Joe's bag. Brussels sprouts, yummy. Colby Jack cheese shreds. I got spicy guacamole. Raspberries, yummy. One random thing that I got was this sack of flour. I don't need flour often, but if I want to make a roux like a fancy person, then I'm gonna need flour. So I got some to have and to hold. I got 1 pack of their cheese tortellini, their shelf stable version, not the refrigerated kind, just because it can be an easy thing to have in my cabinet and make when I find myself suddenly out of fresh food. I got gallon Ziploc bags because I went to go put some bread in the freezer the other day and realized I didn't have any of these. I got 1 jar of roasted garlic pasta sauce. I still have like half a jar left, but you can never have too much. Corn tortillas. This feels like a lot to buy at once. I don't know how I'm gonna get through all of them, but I'm determined. We have stuff to make various types of tacos here. So I believe in myself. Little mandarin oranges, they're so tiny. They're very small. I like putting these in the fridge because cold fruit is even tastier than regular fruit. And then I got these small potatoes because I mainly needed potatoes that I could cut up into bite-sized pieces to make potato tacos. So these small ones seemed like easier. They also seemed easier to carry than like a big bag of regular potatoes. So that's on that. And I spent like $35, which isn't bad, under my budget for the day. So I'm pleased about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this away and then hopefully spend the rest of the day reading, watching YouTube. That's basically all I did yesterday. I'm hoping to finish some books today. I wanna finish a 12 TBRs book. I wanna finish a book that I can talk to you about, The Beauty of the End. I'm like 60% of the way through that. I also wanna read my last Junie B. Jones of the month. But I'm gonna put this away and chill for a minute. Good evening. The black bean tacos I made were so good, and I'm here to talk to you about books. Hooray! I finished all the books that I wanted to today. The 12 TBRs one, I read a Junie B. Jones, and then I finished The Beauty of the End, which is a speculative fiction book. It's not set in the future. It was published this year, but it's not set in the future, which I think is interesting for a speculative fiction. But the basic premise is that humanity is running out of time, like extinction's on the horizon, because they like do some genetic sequencing or whatever, and they're like, there's this one gene that tells you like how many more generations your family is capable of having. So they start recruiting people to try and become scientists to specifically solve this problem, and also like to take over the reproductive process in a way to hopefully lengthen the span of time that humanity will exist. And we're following a main character who is an identical twin, an adopted identical twin, and she and her twin sister both are like really good candidates for joining this program because their DNA says they still have 5 generations left. The average for humanity is 4 generations, but a lot of people have like 2 or no generations left. So them being 5 generation people is like a huge deal. So then the company that they join takes responsibility for their education and their livelihood, but also takes a great degree of control over their bodies. And so it's a story about bodily autonomy and sisterhood. The twin sisters play like a very strong role in this, or like the feeling of being a twin plays a very strong role in this book. There are also lots of discussions about like the ethics of science, like questioning when ethics has to be put aside for the greater good, almost. So there were just a lot of really interesting conversations about it. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I obviously enjoyed that we were following an identical twin. As a twin myself, I love reading books with twin main characters because I feel like I relate to those characters in a way that I don't relate to non-twin main characters. Their sister dynamic was just really interesting. I loved the concept. I thought it was really creative. It's a really good think piece for a lot of questions that science and society has about ethics and the future of the world and the future of humanity specifically. And so I just thought it was a really good concept, and then it delivered fairly well. So 4 stars on that. That means my currently reading is back to 0. So I can start books for May. It's crazy. There's still 1 day left in April, but May is upon us, and that's bonkers. I'll probably start another book tonight just because I usually read at least before bed. Like I'll sit in bed and read until I get sleepy. Chances are that I'll start something, but I don't know what. There are options. Happy Wednesday. It is officially time to get back to work, or at least that's the goal today. And so I figured the easiest way to jumpstart myself was to come to the lab to get some work done, because this feels like a place where I work. There are 2 main types of things that I want to be doing in between spring and summer semester. The first is to make progress on my various manuscripts. I want to get manuscripts out to reviewers this summer, so I'm working on editing them. First up will be the edits on my thesis manuscript, because I have all of those. So I'm waiting for some edits from co-authors on one of my other manuscripts, so I won't be working on that quite yet, but I'll start today by working on my thesis manuscript. And as much as I don't want to this morning, as much as I'd rather work on my second project, I know that my brain works best in the morning, so if I'm going to get it done, it's going to be in the morning. So that's the plan for this morning. And then the other main project for in between semesters is to prepare myself as best as I can for the summer semester, because I'm a lab instructor for summer A. I get to see my students 4 times, and I have a lot of content to cover each time. I'm very fortunate in that like all the materials I need are given to me, but I adapt those materials somewhat, so I need to go through and also make sure that I'm knowledgeable about what's happening so that I can answer all my students' questions or know where to find the answers to their questions. Because even though I've been a lab instructor before, I haven't been paired up with the professor that I'm working with this summer before, so I have to get used to how she does things. So those are the 2 main goals. I also have some like odds and ends. I guess I'm gonna start by trying like a 30-minute sprint on my thesis. And if that's all we've got in us today, then that's all we've got in us. But we'll have to see. Up from the beanbags, the most comfortable part of the lab, into the space that I work in. We have a motivational quote that's always there. I'm gonna start, even though I'm scared. Let's get to it. Hello, it is like 11:20 and I have a meeting at 11:30, so I've just stopped my work on my manuscript. I got a solid 2 hours of work done, though, so that's great. I set my timer for 30 minutes. The 30 minutes came and went. I pressed cancel on that timer. I kept going, feeling really good about that. I feel like I made some good progress. I maybe didn't get to the part of the manuscript that needs the most work, but I made progress regardless, and I'm proud of that. The plan right now, I'm gonna have this meeting. It shouldn't be too long. And then I'll probably eat lunch. I packed leftover tacos in my bag. And then I need to respond to some of my research assistants because some of them have sent me messages. So I need to do that. And then I don't know that I'll have the energy to get into working on class materials, but I can at least start making a to-do list for that. That sounds like a way to feel like I've started without actually starting. So potentially might download all the stuff that I need, but we'll see. The good news is I think my biggest breakthrough on my paper, I'm looking at the whiteboard over there where I wrote it down, is that my major professor is challenging me to think about like, what is the big story here? And is that big story everywhere in this paper? And I was thinking about it, and I feel like I finally hit on like a big takeaway that I hadn't considered before. I feel like before I was thinking about all the ways in which like this study wasn't good enough, which my professor was like, it's good that you were thinking that way because it was your thesis, and in your thesis we want you to demonstrate that you can see all the problems with your research. But when you're writing a manuscript, like, you should probably not tell everybody not to pay any attention to these findings, you know? So I was thinking, like, what finding do I want them to take away? And I've landed on something pretty interesting. So hopefully that will help steer me forward as I continue to work on this manuscript in the next few weeks. But progress. Yay! Hola, happy Thursday. Aside from a meeting that I have in like 20 minutes, I think I'm done working for the week. I know. 2 work days. My life is so hard. Yesterday, I forget when was the last time that I updated, but I spent like the late afternoon working out, reading, and then I was on calls with people after that. I had a Zoom call with some of my friends, and then I had a FaceTime with another friend from back home. Today, so far, I've been working, and after my meeting at 2 p.m., I'll be done working for the day. I went into the lab and I worked on my manuscripts for a while, and then I worked on class PowerPoints. I think I finalized the PowerPoints for the first week of class, so that's good. Tonight, I'll be chilling and reading and chilling while reading and all of those things. Not many interesting updates or any interesting updates. I'm just out here living my life, okay? I'm out here existing. I hope that's good content for you. Happy Friday! Nothing much to report on. I've been chilling. I had therapy this morning. That was good. Had a nice long call with my mom. That was lovely. And I'm gonna read for the rest of the day. The goal for reading today is to finish Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. So I should be able to give you a review on that either today or tomorrow, depending on if I feel like filming later. But that's the goal. I have less than an hour of that left. Other than that, it's the beginning of the weekend, and technically tomorrow is the start of this round of Squash That series. So I'll probably be starting another vlog for that. I don't know. My goal for the summer is in general to give myself Fridays off. I know this week I had Monday and Tuesday off as well, but my plan most weeks will be to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then have Friday off for a 3-day weekend because it's the summer. So like, even though I am still taking dissertation credits, I'm taking less credit hours than I would during the spring semester or the fall semester. Although I guess with dissertation credits, that's not necessarily true. I don't know. I'm not going to fact check myself on that. At least in the past, I've taken less credits in the summer than in the fall or spring, so I'll take an extra day off a week. How about that? That's the update. It's around 4:30, and it would be really helpful of me to start editing my Sunday video because it's going to be a pretty long one. But am I going to do that? No. Tomorrow me can deal with that. Sorry, girly. I don't think that you can tell by looking at me, but I have been crying because I just finished Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. And when I started reading this book, I was like, it's really good, but I've heard him talk about this for a long time. Like, what am I really learning on top of that here? This will probably not be a 5-star book. It will probably be a solid 4-star book. But then the last 25% of the book happened, and I cried through a lot of it. Not like boo-hoo crying, but like there were tears. I did need to seek out a tissue, and I think my reaction to it is really interesting. So anyway, I'm giving it 5 stars. Whatever. Ratings are fake, and I felt a lot reading this, and it's important more than anything. So 5 stars because I think everybody should read it. This taught me something really interesting about what I find to be sad. In the first half of the book, we're largely talking about people dying from tuberculosis. And I was like, that's sad. Yeah, it's obviously sad. You know, they're people. As the book went on, we started talking about people surviving and what they've managed to do in their lives after TB. And the fact that although vicious cycles exist, so do virtuous cycles. It was such a hopeful call to action. And that's what made me cry. Hope made me cry, which I think is very telling. There is something, one, about thinking that the future could be better, that is so full of happiness, it is sad in some ways. I also think when you're following the story of a person and they pass away, you can imagine all the things that they would do if they had remained alive, but you cannot know. And when you know all the good that exists in the world because a person survives, that is an overwhelming feeling, to feel like we almost lost that. Oddly, I think what I learned most from this book in terms of new facts was about hope and how we can make things better, which I think is so useful. Because what is the use of just saying like, this thing is terrible? Instead, there is such a profound importance when you have something and you're like, this is terrible and we can do something about it. I think it's just such a well-written call to action. There were just some quotes in it that were so good. And I think one thing that's incredible about it is we're taking this very specific disease, tuberculosis, and then like a lot of the things that John Green talks about, you can apply to other diseases, right? Like tuberculosis is not the only disease of injustice. And then you can apply it outside of healthcare. So John Green, when he's talking about virtuous versus vicious cycles, you can apply that to anything, really. In my work in psychology, specifically focusing on the legal system, the criminal justice system, we refer to those vicious cycles as cumulative disadvantage, right? A disadvantage over here causes a disadvantage over here. So it is not just a problem that there is inequity here. It's a problem that there is inequity here, because that leads to inequity here and here and here and here, which widens the inequity at this stage. And I think that's a really important thing for people to think about. Everything is connected in the world. And I think John Green explained that really well and is continuing to explain it really well under the umbrella of everything is tuberculosis. I mean, making these interesting or funny TikToks when people are like, how is this related to tuberculosis? And then telling people, I think he's proving like everything is connected. And as humans, we need to be really conscientious of that connection and our roles in it. I just realized that I framed this in a way that I had nowhere to put the book. So yeah, I'm going to give it 5 stars. I could give it 4.5 stars, but I just need to give it 5 stars. So I'm going to. My channel, my rules. Books are made for loving. So if you haven't read this book, get on it. If you haven't even heard of this book, look it up. Everything John Green does is fabulous. I have a vlog from my first year of graduate school where I went to an event and listened to John Green speak. And what's interesting about that is that at the time, he didn't know that he would write this book. He was really interested in tuberculosis. It was his main hyperfixation at the time. He didn't know that a book would come out of it. In fact, he read us something, and I have to wonder if it turned into part of this book, but he was talking about making like a longer form video about tuberculosis. But then I guess he just had so much to say, no video would contain it, right? So he wrote this book. So I think not only would this book be important without that, but I think it's so cool to see this book come into being just because somebody learned something and it stuck with them so much, they like could not look away. That's the kind of passion I love in the world. Thanks to John Green for writing this. And here's to virtuous cycles. Happy Saturday. I lied to you. I'm just going to end this vlog here because all I'm going to do this weekend is edit Sunday's video. It's a TBR crime video. And read For Squash That series and have calls with my loved ones as I usually do on the weekends. So not much to report here. Did I do anything interesting this week? That's up to you to decide. But I will say it was a successful week, both of resting and productivity, which is exactly what I wanted from this week. So I'm pleased with it. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below. How are you? How are you doing in this May? It's now May. How are you doing this May? And subscribe for more bookish and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye.